This is the Absolute Business Mindset podcast, created and hosted by Mark Hayward. This podcast will interview entrepreneurs, business owners, and people in their careers. We will delve into their journey to success, key life milestones, and go deep into their area of expertise. Get ready to learn from other successes and failures. Today we have Angel Ribo, who is the CEO Confidant. Hello, Angel. How are you?
Hi, Mark. Great to be here. Thank you. Thank you so much. And obviously, thank you everybody who's listening to us today.
Well, thank you for joining me. It's going to be an absolute pleasure, I'm sure. What I just wanted to give people at the start is a quick synopsis of who you are, what you do at the moment, and then we'll go back and tell the story. So you help sales teams be profitable custodians, which I'm sure we'll talk about later on what a profitable custodian is, in sales negotiation, equity creation, and all based in Dallas, US at the moment. Is that right?
Yes, thank you.
Right. We are going to go back to your university at Catalonia, your engineering computing engineering degree, but I want to just touch on one thing first. You speak 6 languages.
Yes.
Wow. So is that all based around your traveling and where you've lived in the different locations, or was there languages that you wanted to learn and you went and learned them?
Well, that's a great question. First of all, as you know, I come from Catalonia and I was born 1 hour away from Barcelona. So we are right south of the border with France. So in my school, at my age, English was not taught. So French was the only option. So thank God that was the case, because otherwise I would have never learned French. So, I really, for some reason, I was really ready to learn foreign languages. Probably one of the reasons is because, as you know, in Barcelona and Catalonia, we speak Catalan, which is a language between Spanish and French, right? So we have more sounds, the phonetic is more complicated. So I was learning French there. And mom and dad, they said, hey, Angel, although they don't speak a single language besides Spanish and Catalan, they said, Angel, we want you to learn English at the same time. So they enrolled me on a private school. So since I think it was 4th grade, I was learning French in school and I was learning English outside of school. And then magic happened, which was, mom and dad were they saved some money for me and my sister to go to Scarborough in the UK to learn English. And that was in 1981, 82. So that means that I was 13 years old. And that changed my life forever. If you have ever tried to learn a foreign language, you're always translating, right? You're always translating. So me going for a month to Scarborough meant that I went to Scarborough having to translate everything in my mind. And when I came back, I didn't have to translate anything. I was speaking English automatically. Automatically. I mean, I remember going back to my private school class and everybody was, wow, you've really learned a lot. And I have to tell you that trip, not only my sister went to the same school in Scarborough, but also my cousin. And I did the following thing. I was given the choice, who do you want to stay? I mean, what kind of family do you want to have? And I said, I want to be in a family in which I don't speak a word in Spanish in a month.
Right.
And they put me in a family. I still remember mom and dad and the 3 kids they have, 2 boys and 1 girl. I was sharing the room with a Swedish guy.
Right.
It was a Swedish guy. So I was, and the thing is, God helped me so much. This Swedish guy, oh my God, was he an introvert? Okay. Was he an introvert? So I spent the entire month speaking English with the family, and they would take me everywhere, and we would go to so many places. And also the one good thing I did was I asked my Swedish roommate, hey, do you have some friends here? She said, yes, absolutely. I have so many Swedish girls which came from Sweden, which are also in the same school. I could introduce you to them. Guess what? When I wasn't with my English family, I was with these Swedish girls.
Right.
And for a Spaniard, that was a blast. Oh my God, did that summer change my life forever? And did I not practice my English language skills? So that was, really, that was literally how I ended up learning English and French. And then, I started traveling. When I went to college, I was part of an international organization. I was the president for that organization. And then I went to France with an internship. but I also started to be exposed to Portugal. So I had to learn Portuguese, excuse me. And then I learned a little bit of German because I was for 2 years I was dating wonderful, beautiful German girl. So I was literally visiting her, or she was visiting me almost every week. So I was going to Germany a lot. So when you're kind of your everything in your life is taking you to a place where if you just surrender to it, you keep learning and learning and learning. And eventually I used my Portuguese that I learned with a Portuguese student in Barcelona. I used it when I was conducting business in Brazil, and when I later on in my career, I moved from Barcelona to the UK to work for a technology company. Guess what? I was asked to call in English to the Nordic countries and to Germany. So I was making sales calls from the UK to those countries. So it's kind of, I always had to make an effort. Like I had to put myself in a discomfort zone in order to learn another language.
And learning a language, right? I'm confessing here, I am a typical Englishman who struggles with languages. I was at school, did 6 years of Spanish and a couple of years of German, and really struggled. I just didn't have the natural flow of it. But how do you construct learning a language? The immersion technique, it sounds like you immersed yourself in culture, in people, and that's how you learned it. But they're all Latin languages, so they all have a sort of similarity. But how did you sort of approach learning languages? As you said, you're sort of translating everything Spanish to English, English to Spanish.
Yes.
But what sort of techniques did you use to get your languages and embed and understand with such fluidity? Your English is fantastic, and I know you're in the US now, so you do use it every day. But how did you approach learning the languages?
Well, this is a great question. I remember when I was once paid, I think my first employer, when I left college, they paid for lessons. I think it was Portuguese. And they actually enrolled me. I don't know if I can use commercial names, but for this at this school, Berlitz, which they're very well known for languages and to teaching languages, foreign languages to executives. Yeah. And they would typically, even if you don't know anything about that language, you start listening to it. You start, you don't know anything, but your brain. There's something in your brain that suddenly starts being comfortable, familiar with certain sounds. And the more you are exposed, I remember when I first learned English, when I told you my story to Scarborough, having the TV set that we had in the room always on. It doesn't matter, always on. I would never do that today with the amount of fear that there's in the news. But at that point, it's always getting used to the language, even if I didn't understand what they were saying. It doesn't matter. So you actually used a word which is called immersion. There's a guru in human behavior, who is Tony Robbins.
Oh,
right?
Yeah, I know Tony.
If you ever listen to, obviously you have, or you attend one of his events, right? He talks about immersion all the time. He always makes this funny story when he started to learn polo, being on his horse and everything. Immersion. Even if you had to pay to learn a skill, but you can literally land, land in a place where that particular skill is being used.
Yeah,
that's the best way to do it. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect. But put yourself in a position in which you are stressed out, literally. Right. You don't feel comfortable because you don't understand anything. It doesn't matter. But your brain is starting to tune into the expressions, the phonetics. As you know, there's a certain way that every language has its own music. Yeah. Besides its own syntactics and grammar and everything, it has its own music. I think that music is as important and as the language and the words themselves. That has been my experience, Mark.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. So let's go to your university degree. So you did engineering, computer engineering. So
Exactly.
at the University of Catalonia.
Yeah, yeah.
So just tell me a little bit about your upbringing in Barcelona and why you chose to do computer engineering as a degree.
Yeah, that's a great story. I'm just having, memories from my high school time now. So I was born in a city. You speak Spanish. You've probably been in Spain. I was born in a city called Lleida, which is 1 hour away from Barcelona. Okay, so it's a 250, 300,000 people, city. So it's still a small town. So when I was, in high school, and actually in middle school as well, that started in middle school, I really loved computers. I didn't have a computer at home. But in school we had this lab with 4 computers, and I don't know if they were of a British brand or an American brand. They were called Acorn.
Acorn. Yeah. It was.
Oh, you remember them? Oh my God.
Yeah.
So I mean, I remember. I right now I have in my mind the lab with those computers.
Yeah.
That one of them, guess what, had a tape recorder, so I could record my programs.
Right.
Oh my God, I loved it. I mean, I totally loved it. I remember that thanks to that, my dad bought me an Apple IIc computer while I was in high school. Apple IIc. Right. So it was the most fancy Apple II that existed at that time. One of the few in the place where I was, actually the only dealer in that place. They knew me because I was all the time there looking for, software and everything. So that's how I started to like computer science and computer engineering. I was really good in programming, as I was progressing. Actually, one of my father was a CEO of a conglomerate of food related industry.
Right.
Companies, and he asked me, hey, could you do this inventory program for us?
Yeah.
And then suddenly for the entire summer I started to write in basic language.
Yeah.
Okay, a program for taking for controlling the inventory of that particular, it actually was a fish farm.
Okay.
So, and I loved it so much. It was so good. Obviously, I always had great grades. So when it was time, my last year in high school, when I was a senior, and I was asked in Spain, you have to go through there's a grading system, right? And I had to pick which schools I wanted to, which colleges and universities. And I said, okay, so I would like to go to the school, computer engineering school in the Technical University of Catalonia. And I was, thank God I had very good grades, so I could get really into computer science.
Yeah.
But guess what? The first year was physics, math, calculus, programming, theory of information theory. I, with all due respect to all my professors and teachers and everything, I hated it. I hated it.
Okay.
I mean, the first semester was, I barely could pass, I think, 2 of the subjects. I mean, it was really difficult. And then the second semester, oh my God, I said, I don't like it. If this is computer science and computer engineering, I don't like it. I liked programming a little bit. I like the soft part of engineering of information technology, but I didn't like any of the rest. I said, oh my God, it's 5-year degree. Okay, I'm only at the second one. Oh my God. To be honest, I said, I don't know how am I gonna do this, but whatever. My parents are paying for this. I had to move from Lleida to Barcelona, so they were paying the rent and everything. So fast forward, to be honest, I had to wait actively 3 more years until, again, I liked computer engineering subjects because they were more like, computer engineering or computer science in organizations, information systems, stochastic processes, things that were really more attached to reality, as opposed to, calculus and
side. Yeah.
Exactly. And I am a very hands-on guy. I really like to be around with people, and I like to have human contact.
Yeah.
And I picture myself, am I going to be a computer analyst programmer the rest of my life? Oh my God, no. That's not going to be Angel Ribo at all. That's why, as you have read, that's why, really after I finished my degree, I said, I have to do something more related to business. because I think that's exactly where I could make a big
Before
impact.
we go on your MBA,
Yeah.
just on the computer engineering, and it might be slightly different. I want to clarify. So we have in the UK something called computer science, and that is basically learning languages. And I'm interested. I was talking to someone, a friend of mine, who learned languages and then learned computer science, and that was like JavaScript and C# and all that sort of jazz. And he said that actually it was very easy to learn because it was just learning a new language. Did you have the same experience there as well?
No.
Okay.
That was actually, it was called a degree when I started. It was called computer science.
Right.
But as all the, let's say, the names and titles changed throughout my career, actually they eventually called it computer engineering. So I started the studies, were being named like that. But as far as computer languages, no, we didn't really learn, this many computer language at all. I mean, I remember using, after the second semester, we did not learn any language anymore.
So you didn't learn the programming. You were building the hardware, building the computers. And
we learned both hardware and software. But what I'm trying to say, they taught the programming, the languages that they taught us, or the programming that they taught us were language independent.
Right.
Okay, so it was very much on how to do things, but not specifically with a language. We were using a universal language, and then literally we were given the freedom to use the language that we wanted. It could be any language. So that was, I mean, again, but if you realize, maybe if it was more like specific languages, maybe I would have liked it more. I don't know. But the reality is that everything seemed to me too abstract, and I wanted to go back to earth. And that's, as I mean, reflecting upon what I had done in high school, again, it was very down to earth. I was able to deliver specific results. I mean, as much as I am a strategic guy, but to be honest, I'm a strategic as far as the rubber can hit the road, really.
Right.
Otherwise, it doesn't serve me.
Right.
It doesn't serve me. And I need to see those results, because at the end of the day, I think that has helped me a lot in my life in general, like really wanting to see those specific results, those specific outcomes of everything that I have done.
Yeah. So you then did an MBA in Barcelona.
Yeah.
Was that to give you the business experience?
Yes.
Actually, and one other question, sorry, a follow-up question.
Yeah, of course.
At that time, doing an MBA, did you want to be an employee working for a big, whether it's computers or whether it was a business or finance, wherever? Did you want to work for a big corporation, or did you want to be an entrepreneur at that stage?
That's a great question. I'm going to tell you. So while I was studying, in order to make money, I was actually working at the same time.
Right.
And I was working, giving education, computer education, teaching WordPerfect and Lotus 1, 2, 3, to the employees of the university of my own college. Okay. Mm-hmm. But the first job that I got before I graduated, I was actually at the rector's office, at the president's office of my own university.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because they opened a position in the international, it was called the rector's office, Department of International Relations. And that was my first job. My real first full-time job was like this. So it wasn't related to technology at all. So while I was having that, while I was, doing that job, I was there for 5-6 years. I was actually studying, my MBA. If you ask me why, because I really wanted to have a different perspective of the world. I wasn't thinking of where am I going to work, what kind of role I want to have. I wasn't that strategic. The only thing I knew was that I needed to have additional knowledge if I wanted to go with a higher level of comfort to work for any corporation.
Right.
So I started working in international programs, and then I started traveling extensively. And we had these wonderful relationships and trips to the UK to talk to the Imperial College and the University of Manchester School of Architecture. And we would go to all these many, universities in Europe, and also in the US and in Latin America, which were mainly the places where we would have, relationships and programs and things going on, right? So that was actually my first full-time job. And it was thanks to a bad personal experience that actually I decided to move out of Spain. But when I was still working, and let me tell you a story because you're going to like it. When I was still working at the university, a female headhunter came one day and said,
Right.
Angel, we want you in the private sector. I have this opportunity for you. I cannot disclose how I found you. And actually, I still don't know today why.
Okay.
But, well, I know why, but I don't know how they found me. But anyway,
Okay.
we would like you to work in this particular company. I think you would make a great fit. And it was an audiovisual company. Okay, so they would do all sorts of audiovisual productions of any size. It would be the launch of a new car for Jaguar, or it could be like the 100th anniversary of FC Barcelona, just to give you a couple of examples.
Yeah.
But the reason why I mentioned this is because eventually I was fired from that company. Okay, so that was interesting.
What did you do?
What did I not do?
What did you not do?
So there was a lot of politics involved in that company. I was hired by one guy, and I made the mistake, which is I allowed myself to say to accept a position because this guy said, "Hey, we are reorganizing this part of the company, and I'm not gonna be your boss anymore. So before I hand you over to the new boss, I want to give you the opportunity to go to another side of the company. It's up to you. You decide what you want to do."
Right.
Okay. And I really didn't know nor my potential new boss at that division or this other boss. So I said, okay, let's go to this other boss, this other division. And that was my life sentence.
Okay.
That was, but anyway, but that's okay. And that was
before. You learn from these experiences, don't you?
My God. Oh, absolutely. Because, I was supposed to be in charge. Do you remember the 2000 effect? How going from 1999
to
2000?
Yeah. Y2K or whatever it was called.
Exactly. The 2K effect.
Nothing happened.
Exactly. Nothing happened. Nothing happened.
The clock just ticked over.
How many trillions of dollars, of pounds were spent for that, right? But anyway, so I lost my job, and then I had this conversation with my headhunter. Hey, I'm glad that they stayed at that company more than 6 months, so you get your full fee. I told the headhunter, but okay, could you tell me why did you really come to pick me from the university and take me to this private company? They were really a good company, and large and very, very well known. And she goes, well, because I needed someone really flexible.
Okay.
I needed someone. There was something that I really liked at the interview with you, Angel, which was and she said, so if you're ready for this explanation, Mark, she said your feminine side was the part that really attracted me. And I said, what?
And what did you go? What?
Obviously, I've lived in so many. I'm so open to all obviously so many sexual orientations. I have friends all over the place with all orientations. So I said, what do you mean, right? Because I wanted to know. And she said, I want you to know something. And actually, it was the first time ever someone told me about this. So we all have this feminine side and this masculine side. We all have this. Like it or not, it's a reality.
Yeah.
And for what you stand in the world, you have this flexibility that's very difficult to find, in full-fledged masculine roles for men. And, I found this in you, and I knew that you were going to do a good job, regardless of what happened at the end. So anyway, that was my last job in Spain. And then it was when, the universe had a wonderful position for me in the UK. And that's how I.
And so what did you do in the UK?
Yes, I worked for my first ever American company.
Right.
It was a high tech company in this technology park in Fleet. Yeah. I think is it Hampshire?
Fleet. Hampshire. Yeah.
I think it's Hampshire, exactly. So, and basically, I was part of the inside sales team. I started as an inside sales guy, and then inside sales team leader. And I was like basically first making phone calls, a lot of phone calls, trying to get appointments for my field reps.
Right.
And my field reps were in different countries, and I handed over those leads to them. And then I became a team leader. And that's what I was doing. It was my first sales role ever. And I loved it. I loved
you
it.
enjoyed it? It's a people business, isn't it?
It's a people business, yes. And we had all those call blitzes, that we had to make X number of calls, and if you reach that goal, then you had a bonus, and then you would talk to the field reps, and they were super excited that you got them this amazing sales appointment with the CEO of that corporation. That was so exciting. I really loved it. I really liked it.
And then I see you moved to Mexico. Is that right? To do sales there as well?
Exactly. I moved to Mexico. The company I was working with in the UK, American company. I went to a sales boot camp in Boston. They were based in Boston. And I decided to take a vacation after that boot camp in Boston. And I said, I'm going to take a vacation. I've never been in Mexico as a tourist. And then I'm going to go to Cuba. And it was while I was in Cuba, and that's the reason why I moved then to Mexico. I had my first spiritual experience ever. I mean, I was very down to earth, and I didn't know what a spiritual experience meant. So I remember reading that book while I was in Cuba. And I was reading this book. Is called The Celestine Prophecy. I don't know if you've ever heard of this book. No. The Celestine Prophecy. I recommend it to you.
Okay.
It's written by a guy called James Redfield. The Celestine Prophecy. It's basically a book that talks about the energy and how everything is energy and everything around us is energy. I love the concept. When I was, when you're reading something and you're feeling that you already know that, and you're feeling excited about this. So it's the story about a series of scrolls that are being found in the Amazon side of Peru. Okay.
Right.
So it's an amazing book. It's a fiction book, but the teaching just was amazing. So I remember turning the last page of the book, and as soon as I did that, I had this rush of energy going through me. I mean, I cannot explain it. Goosebumps, chills, you name it.
Yeah.
And I knew that I had to do something. I mean, I remember when the sun was setting. I was in Varadero in Cuba, in that nice resort. And literally at that moment, I decided I want to go to work in Latin America. Okay. I went back to Fleet. I mean, I never explained this to anybody. Okay, now everybody knows because I have explained the story, but I never explained that to my managers. But I told my managers, both American, I told them, hey, I would like to go to work in Latin America. You tell me where you have an opening. And they said, well, we would like you in Mexico. But hey, are you insane? What do you mean? Hey, you're working here in the UK. You have a great job, great progression. Look what you have done in under 2 years. And, you're making good money. Why do you want to go to a third world country? Why would you think of doing that? And I said, why not? Why not? What's wrong? And in this case, was Mexico. And, Mexicans love Spaniards. Spaniards love Mexicans. There's so many things in common among the two cultures. And I said, I would love to go to Mexico. And I think that there's a lot of things that I can do while in Mexico.
Just before you talk a little bit more about Mexico, so you were saying about that book that had a massive impact. So
yes.
I started binging audiobooks on business, finance, self-development, all this jazz. I don't know, it's probably 6 or 7 years ago now. Cool. And I interviewed someone who said you should read The Alchemist. Have you read The Alchemist?
Oh, absolutely.
So I was binging on this business stuff, and he's like, no, this will give you a really good perspective. It will open your eyes. It will spiritually help you. And I was a bit cynical, but I listened to it on audiobook, and it changed my life. It really changed my life, having that perspective on people's behaviors, people's way people react, and the way I should react, or the way the character in the story reacts to situations, and I'm even, while I'm telling you about this little story, I'm even thinking of the stories within the actual story. So so I know what you mean. I didn't decide to move to Mexico or anything, but I definitely know what you mean. Like non-fiction books can have, like, because as I said, I binged on business books, but that really was a life changer and a really inspiring book. So sorry, I just wanted to just pop that in there. Sorry, you were saying about Mexico.
No,
so
but I would like, no, but I mean, to your point, I mean, I downloaded my first Audible book before Audible was even an Amazon company, and I think it's a great companion. I think that for while I'm in the shower, while I'm driving, while I'm commuting, I mean, while I'm exercising, audiobooks are a great companion.
They're fantastic. I must admit, my intake has reduced, because I used to do it on the commute into my office while I was still working in corporate, and that was my, as you say, companion. That was go in, listen to a story. I listened to it at 2 times speed as well. My brain now assimilates it faster. I think that's one of my life hacks. Like if you're listening to audiobooks, put it on 2 times speed, because your brain just reacts and starts assimilating the information even though it's coming through faster.
Thank you.
So try that out.
That's a great tip.
Try that out.
I never thought of doing it, but that's why I never thought of doing it, because when I tried 1.5, it was so uncomfortable.
No, the thing is,
no, I know.
You literally have to do like 2 or 3 times of trying it, and then your brain just switches, and then it goes into that level as well.
Exactly. No, you just absolutely. I mean, I am a follower of a guy called Dr. Joe Dispenza. And he talks about, he's one of the most famous neuroscientists, very, very, very respected, because he's very science-based. And he talks about neuronal connections, how they are being built, how they are being, if you want to change your limiting beliefs, how do you have to replace them by others, these kind of things. But now that you said it, I immediately saw it. Exactly. That's the place. You have to be on an uncomfortable place. As many other things in life, you have to be in an uncomfortable place in order to get yourself into a completely different level. And guess what? You just said it. It's a life hack. It's a life hack. I'm going to do this immediately. I mean, thank you.
Well, don't do it until we finish the interview.
Thank you. Oh, yeah. No, but I mean, just because of this is a life-changing piece of advice. Thank you, Mark.
Well,
no, honestly.
My absolute pleasure. So let's move from Mexico. You then moved to Dallas. And I thought it was really interesting when I started reading. So was it, I don't know how to pronounce, Dassault Systems?
Yes.
Dassault Systems. Yes. So you moved there, and you were doing the Mexico account in the office. But you did sales and marketing. You were there 10 years. So you were there a substantial period of time.
Absolutely.
You did marketing and sales, account management, sales leadership. So what made, first of all, what made you move to Dallas? And then why were you compelled to stay there for such a long period?
Yes. The first thing, I moved to Dallas because at some point in 2010, the vice president for sales, he came into the country and he said, "Hey, Angel, if you want to offer you a better position, you have to move to the US, because we are a US-based company. So if we want to offer you," so he helped me tremendously. Great guy, and great company, by the way. Dassault Systems is a great French company.
Right.
So that's the reason why I moved to Dallas. Also, I was a bit reluctant in the beginning to move to the US. Sometimes Europeans, we're, biased on our thoughts, and
it goes both ways. So, some of the Americans don't like Europeans.
Exactly. Well. But I have to say, it was a great move. Also, I had 3 kids in school age.
Right.
So for me, also, it was also a very important thing to decide if I wanted them to receive an education in Mexico or in the US. So we decided with my wife to do it. So why I stayed so many years? So I stayed so many years because of these 10 years, actually, of these 10 years, the first 8, I was working for a division called SolidWorks, very well known in the software industry, engineering, product design industry. And I really had a lot of freedom. I really developed a very strong business. I was enjoying it. I was thriving. I had a blast. I had an extraordinary team. I did great things. My work was recognized consistently in the entire corporation. So I was really having a great time, and it was really valued, and everything was, I really have to say, I was able to build a great team along to help me do that. That's the main reason. And, I've always liked traveling. So for me, being able to develop business, to close sales, to negotiate deals with people in so many countries in Latin America, that was such a blessing. Such a blessing. I was traveling all over the place, and I loved it. Some people are maybe reluctant to travel, and when they offer a position, they say it's 50% travel or 75% travel.
Yeah.
For me, 100% travel was amazing, right? Because that's who I am. Don't ask me why. It's just who I am. Probably because of the languages, right? Because I feel like a citizen of the world, that I can go anywhere, and I like learning. I like being exposed to new things, and that's who I was. So that's why I stayed in the company for so long. And
was there a specific career development that was opened up to you? And like, not necessarily your first day, but in the first year, they said, "Look, Angel, we think you can keep progressing." Like, was it opened up to you, or did you have to fight for the progression? Like, what was?
I had to fight for the progression.
I suppose you were in sales, so
yes, I had to fight for the progression. Again, it is what it is, and again, you always put wherever you are in your life, you have a scale, right? In your mind, right? And you put one things in one side and one things in the other. It's a matter of balance. So you find the right balance, So I was really, as I mentioned before, freedom. I had a lot of freedom to do a lot of things. I developed a certification process for my sales force, a certification process for my entire channel, distribution channel. I designed training programs. I had so much freedom, and I could do so many things. And we had no boundaries. We could do anything. And we deployed strategies in Latin America that nobody had deployed worldwide, literally. So I had so much trust from my managers and the leaders of the company. Oh my God. And again, I value my freedom a lot. A lot.
And did you have a coach or a mentor there? You said about the person who brought you in. What was that available to you?
Not really. That's a great question. I think that I always learn through exposing myself, through being in uncomfortable places, and being the one doing stuff. Probably my passion and my enthusiasm helped me a lot, so that when I was proposing something, people would, go with me all the way. I was one of these guys that I would really, walk my talk. So people would come along with me, but there wasn't this written career path. I wish, because that gives you a lot of certainty. That's why, I was, people talk about the term like a corporate survivor.
Yeah.
In the sense that even though there was not such a career path specifically laid out for you, still I was able to thrive, and I was able to get different positions. I started as a sales rep or a sales manager, and then I started to incorporating territories. That's something that happens at corporate, right? You keep on bringing additional territories, additional revenue, right? And eventually, when I moved to the US, I incorporated, strategic accounts and accounts that were present at both sides of the board, and these kind of things.
Right. Okay. Well, let's fast forward a little bit. I do want to talk about this, but we're gonna have to move on. You're a TV host on a station in Dallas. Unfortunately, we're going to have to keep going because I want to get everything in.
Go ahead.
So what I suddenly started seeing at a certain point of your career, you created CEO Confidant, which we'll talk about in a minute, but you started doing philanthropic, it's charity work that you started to do. So you became the president and co-founder of Wisdom for Kids, and you also, this is not so charity, but you became the CEO of Divine Human Ventures, which is helping the gap globally for companies to reach different parts of the world. So what made you take that shift, which is beyond the sort of corporate or entrepreneurial world, into those areas as well?
Well, when I have to say, I started to prepare myself before I left corporate world in 2016. I started to prepare myself, and I started going to different conferences of people that knew about things that I thought could be valuable for me.
Right.
They were basically, these famous online marketeers, these people that have done, online launches,
Yeah.
that they know everything about coaching programs, sales funnels. So I attended so many conferences during 2014, 15, and eventually 16. So, so I prepared myself for doing that. I'm telling you about this because in 2015, 1 year before I left corporate America, I had a spiritual experience. Okay, it was the month of March. I was in Mexico City. It was a Saturday morning, and I was exhausted. I used to like to say when I was in the UK, I was knackered. Okay,
Yeah.
exactly. That's a great expression. So because I remember that morning very well because it changed my life forever. So it was at that hotel. Typically, I would fly back to Dallas to be with my family on a Friday night, but I missed my plane. So I had to reschedule for Saturday, and I couldn't reschedule for the first flight in the morning. So I had to reschedule for the 5 p.m. flight on Saturday. So that means basically that I would spend 1 day less with my family. So I was really remorseful. I woke up. I was at that hotel. I remember exactly where I was, in which room I was, and as soon as I went into the shower and the water that Saturday morning, I had, and now I recognized it, right? Or I then recognized it. I had a full-fledged like spiritual experience. So remember that what I told you that I had in Cuba before? So that happened, but with a lot of images, a lot of flashes, and a lot of things that made me cry like a baby. So imagine myself, from the outside, you would only see an adult, a young man crying in the shower under the water. But I was having all those flashes of basically all those kids in need that I had met so many times while I was conducting business in Latin America. So picture this, right? My clients were, and that's why I call myself the CEO Confidant. My clients, while I was in Europe first and then in Latin America, my clients were always large manufacturing companies. And I was always, because of the way we were conducting business, I was always talking to the C-levels of those companies. So I was always going to close business to these top, level
The executives
of those manufacturing plants. But guess what? In Latin America, manufacturing plants are where? Outskirts of large cities or even rural areas. And guess what? Where is the poverty? Where is the poverty in those areas?
Yeah.
Exactly in those very same areas. So every time I would go to those manufacturing plants to talk to those high executives, before getting into those places, I would see so many examples of kids coming to me and saying, "Hey, sir, senor, would you buy some gum for me, some candies? Would you allow us to keep your car safe while you are inside of the plant? Or could we wash the car? Could we clean your windshield for you?" So all those images of so many examples of kids in need, this came to me so strongly while I was in the shower. And it was very clear to me after literally crying under the shower for 15 minutes. It was very clear to me that I had to do something, that experience, that incredible amount of energy going through me meant that I had to do something about it. Okay. So I remember that I was so sensitive that day. The gentleman, Mr. Martin, Mr. Martin, he was the guy that was like my driver in Mexico every time I would go to Mexico. So I remember having breakfast. He called me, "Hey, are you ready for the appointment we're gonna have this morning?" I said, "No. You're gonna have breakfast with me today." So I invited him for breakfast, and we had a breakfast together. I remember that breakfast as if it was today. I said, "Martin, we are going to cancel this call, and we're just going to talk about something that happened to me. It's going to sound crazy, but we've been together for so many years." It was 2015. Okay, so I would like to share a story with you, and that's what I would like to do for the rest of my life. And I remember even crying over breakfast as I was explaining to him what had happened, a few minutes ago before, right? And that's the reason why. That's the reason why I said, "Oh my God, I have to do something." And that's what really triggered and ignited me deciding. Actually, I decided to create Wisdom for Kids with a friend of mine and his father, three co-founders, before I even decided to leave corporate America. But it was very clear to me that I was going to be the connector of the unconnected.
Right. Right.
The connector of the unconnected, the connector between this top layer from a success and wealth point of view with the bottom layer. Right. And obviously, through my work for so many years, I had not only sold and developed business, but I also had trained my distribution channel, my distributors, my resellers, my business partners. I had taught them how to become, good companies, I had helped them to grow their businesses. So I was always doing this, like helping these partners of ours, grow their businesses, but also eventually the main goal of all the services I'm providing to my own clients, to those manufacturing companies, was how to accelerate the growth of their businesses.
Right.
So you see, there was this common denominator. So it was very clear to me that what I had to do is I had to start this nonprofit. Eventually, we called it, Wisdom for Kids. But I called it. I had to start this because I said, if I don't do it myself with these two other people, who's going to do it? Who's in such a good position of being able to, tap into the genius of these top level people and at the same time helping the underprivileged?
So tell me a success story. What have you managed to do part of this charity nonprofit?
Yeah. So there's an area which I like to go, which is an Indigenous community. I like to go to Indigenous communities for many reasons. One of them is because 95% of kids in those communities are poor.
Right.
So when you go to those areas, the chances of making an impact increases dramatically because everybody lives under the threshold of poverty.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you a story of this area. It's in the north of the state of Puebla in Mexico. Okay. So in this area, there are 180 plus small communities. Many of them speak their own languages, originally from the Aztecs, Toltecs, this kind of, originally civilizations, let's say, or cultures. So one success story I can make is in a particular area, one of those sub-communities there, when we deliver our workshops, right, what we do is we do a lot of self-esteem work. We do a lot of neuro-linguistic programming, okay? Because we want to make sure that whatever we do in that community,
it's sustainable.
Exactly, it's sustainable, right? So we went to that place, and we basically started talking about, hey, you have to love yourself. I mean, this is kind of the message, right? I mean, we don't teach it like this. There's no whiteboard. We jump, we sing, we dance, all sorts of crazy things that you can imagine we do with the kids. Why? Because we connect with them, again, at an energy level.
Yeah.
We raise the energy of that place wherever we conduct our workshops. And that's the main goal. The main goal is we connect with them at such an energy level that, like, the most amazing part of the workshop, which is a 20-minute meditation, has the most impact. So for 1 hour and 40 minutes, we are preparing our kids for the most important part of the workshop, which is the meditation.
Right.
I mean, you have to think that we spent 2 years preparing the workshop. We had 2 PhD students preparing the workshop with us. Right. All right. So there's these 2 kids, which were brothers, which had different grades. One was second grade and the other one was third grade. And the story, the success story is because, we always say that we help underprivileged kids in Latin America become entrepreneurs using their local resources. We don't want them to go somewhere else to be successful. Yeah. We want them to become aware of the wealth and the resources which is around them. Yeah. Okay, so we told them, hey, okay, so what do you think you have here that people might like, right? And we started having that conversation, right? So we brought the mom of these two kids. Okay, we brought them and we say, okay, so what do you think we could do? And one of these kids really was very good with what he was doing with his hands, right? And we said, why don't you start making, and it's a very simple thing, but bracelets with stones that you were able to find here.
Yeah.
Actually, and they said, wow, that sounds really interesting. So we sat down with them, we sat down with the mom, and we made sure that they were going to, we were going to have a continuation, because the challenge there is not passing on the how to do something, it's to do it. It's actually to take action. Remember, it's not. There's one mantra that I always share with my business, with my clients, which is take imperfect action now. Yeah. That's my mantra. Take imperfect action now. So we sat down with them, and that was at the end of 2019, and we said, okay, so this is what we're gonna do. So we make sure that our local teams. We always have local teams. We develop local teams when we go to a community. They're gonna make sure that you guys are gonna be following through. Okay, so our volunteers locally, have been talking to this mom and to these kids, and I know for a fact that these kids have been, selling those bracelets to the local community. In this area, actually, there's a former Toltec pyramid compound. So it's a very highly charged, again, energy place. It's a magic place. So they already have a place where tourists go, so they can sell those bracelets already to the local community. And after that, there's going to be many things that are going to happen. I mean, obviously, unfortunately, the world closed down, unfortunately, in 2020. But we're talking about incorporating other nature elements of nature into their bracelets, and obviously writing a story about that. We are very cautious about keeping the identity of those kids safe. We don't carry a single list. There's no list. I mean, of those 1,000 kids more plus that we have helped, we don't carry any single registry. We don't want anybody to hack into our information and use it inappropriately. We're very, very cautious about that. I think that privacy and confidentiality is extremely important today, and we want to keep those communities safe. So that's a great example. That's a very good example of a success story.
That's fantastic, and all power to you. I think it's a wonderful idea. And what's so great about it for me is that you're inspiring children to perhaps be entrepreneurs, but in their community, in their country. They don't feel they have to go to America or go to the cities. They can develop within the local community, which I think is wonderful. I want to ask you a question which I don't often ask, but I'm intrigued. So you've described yourself as a global citizen. You travel all around the world. You are you speak many languages, and a lot of your time is traveling. And you mentioned a little bit earlier on about having 3 kids. So how do you balance being a global citizen and also being a parent of 3 kids?
That's a great question. And let me make a confession. I think that once my wife gave an interview to someone and she said it, so that's why I'm going to say it.
Okay.
At some point in time, I think it was in 2008, so 2 years before we left for the US, actually, and she didn't tell me actually until 3 years later. So only a few months before she got pregnant of our second kid, she told me she was actually thinking, she told me one day, Angel, you were spending so much time gone. I thought our marriage would never last. Never. We were living in Puerto Vallarta in the Pacific coast of Mexico. And I would literally spend 2 weeks in a row gone.
Right.
Like gone. And we had at that time we had an 8-year-old kid. I was literally gone. And that comes with a price, right? So I loved, obviously I was gone because I loved what I was doing. I totally loved it. But so so that came definitely with a toll. right? And when I made the decision of leaving corporate America, actually one of the main reasons besides my nonprofit was I really would like to spend more time with my family. And let me tell you, I've taken my second kid, my 12-year-old now, I've taken him with me to do what I do.
Right.
And it's really eye-opening because I remember when I took him for the first time, we got to the place in the mountains. It was a very poor village.
Mm.
You know, there was the Sunday market was on.
Mm.
It was dirty. It was smelly. It was raining, you know, cats and dogs.
Mm.
And my kid, like we had literally, I mean, we took a 6.5-hour bus from Mexico City to that place in the mountains.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, and my kid said, Daddy, I want to go back home now. I don't want to be here.
Oh no.
I don't want to be here.
That's
I
not what
mean,
you
the
want to hear, is it?
whole landscape, you know, the whole scenario
Yeah.
was so, let me use the right word in English, appalling
Yeah.
for a kid that he said, I want to go back home. I don't want to stay here. I mean, I really don't want to stay here. Well, luckily enough, the next day it stopped raining. It was, you know, as you know, in the mountains, then it was warmer and it was very nice sun. And then obviously he was involved in delivering the workshops.
Yeah.
He was one of the highlight of the kids because they got to see a kid from a completely different life
Yeah. Yeah.
with them.
Yeah.
You know, and then he changed the way that he was seeing the whole wisdom for kids that dad is doing, you know.
Yeah.
And it was a great experience. And now he knows and he understands exactly what an underprivileged kid means.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
you know, but yeah, so but it was, to your question, it was very difficult. Now I work, I mean, my office is at the second floor at home, you know, we have a
Right.
2-story
Right.
home.
Yeah.
And it's different. And I spend a lot of time with my kid, and actually now he's in school, but most of the time he listens into my podcast interviews.
Right.
And not only that, sometimes I ask him to write posts. He's brilliant. He's much smarter than me. I mean, needless to say, his genes are much better, much better. And he's brilliant in English. He's brilliant. He got this prize from his school for his English, you know, skills. He writes really good. So he has his, you know, he made his own computer and he has it like next to me here in the office. Thank God we have a large office. But I love to have him involved. And every month I have my daddy son night, my daddy daughter night, obviously my daddy mommy night, right?
Yeah. Date night, we call it.
But it's important because otherwise, I mean, you know, I mean, just to mention something, the last 12 months, how difficult have they been for the families?
Do you know what? So I left corporate in October 2020. So I'd sort of been living a dual life. I had my corporate career and then I had my podcast and various other things. And I was sort of leaving the house at 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning, coming back. I had US clients, so I was coming back 8:30, rarely seeing them in the day. And I think one of the things that COVID has actually done is, so I'm working from home. We've managed to make it work. I can close the door if the kids are not, if I'm doing an interview, but actually being present. It's not always that you're like, I'm doing a little bit of homeschooling at the moment. We're in lockdown in the UK, but my wife's brilliant and she does most of it. But just being present and being around and having meals with them and having breakfast with them and being involved in their lives is probably, for me personally, the biggest thing that COVID has given me as a benefit. Now, obviously, there's terrible, terrible stories and deaths, and people I know have had sorrow and sadness. But the one thing for me that's been great, it didn't push me to leave corporate America. I was leaving. I just hung around a little bit just in case what was going to happen, because it was also new. But I think the thing is making a really important point that that I wasn't necessarily traveling a lot, but it just, the corporate world sucks you in and it wants more and more from you, and naturally your kids and your wife and other and people around you, they're the people that suffer.
You know, it's great. I mean, if you think, you know, now that you have I have to say that after leaving corporate, I was by myself in the desert for many months. Okay,
Right.
I had to adapt.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, for me, it wasn't automatic, right? I mean, although I mean I was successful and blah blah blah, regardless, you know, I thought it wasn't enough. I thought until I one day I sat down and started to make some accounting, like accounting. How many clients have I seen? What were the achievements? How many people have I met? What did I do to help them? What, you know, all these kind of things. I felt that it wasn't enough. So, you know, I mean, everything works out, right?
Yeah.
It's true that when you work in this large structure of a large corporation, you give so much away,
Yeah.
so much. I mean, and you typically never feel fulfilled. You typically always feel that
100%.
it's not enough. You
Yeah.
have to, you know, you have to give enough. You have to give more. You have to give more. You have to give more. And there's never, you know, one of the things that I will change if I was going back is the vacations. When I
Right.
would take a vacation, I always have had my mind still in my job.
Mm.
Always.
Mm.
I remember one time I said, okay, I'm going to go really far. Like I'm going to travel, not to Europe, but I'm going to travel to Hawaii because they are in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah.
And I will not have to talk to any of my resellers, any of my salespeople, nobody. I'm going to be there 3 weeks. I remember as if it was today. I couldn't do it. So I was a corporate animal.
Yeah.
Mark.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? I was like completely embedded
Yeah.
into that
So
work.
was I. So was
And, you know, and I didn't feel that it was wrong. I feel that that's what I have to do. I'm responsible
Yeah.
for my business.
Yeah.
I'm responsible for my coworkers, for my, you know, direct reports. I'm responsible for that revenue. And if I don't do it, I am not ethically and morally, I'm not doing the right thing. And it is so wrong. It is so wrong because you give away the most precious time of your life.
Absolutely. Right, let's talk on some more cheery things. So your entrepreneurial experience is all based around the CEO Confidant. So so it's about sales accountability. One of the things that I want you to talk about is a profitable custodian.
Yeah.
Now, this was a phrase which I've never seen. Now, I've interviewed probably 80 odd people, maybe. Yeah, about 80. And I've spoken to salespeople, people that started in sales. And so what is a profitable custodian?
Yeah, so this is that term that we developed together with one of my business partners. Okay, so his name is Neville Joffe. He's an executive educator. So one of the things that we tend to think as entrepreneurs is that we have to do it all ourselves, and that's so bad. So bad. I think that we have never been taught to really collaborate and establish strong business partnerships. So that is exactly what I did with this gentleman. So one day we were having a conversation and we were talking about this term and of the employees being the custodians of the company's profits. And I said, hey, we have something here. We have something here. What if we start, if the main goal, the ultimate purpose of any company is to produce sustainable profits and cash flow for their shareholders, for the equity holders of those corporations, if that's the main goal, and what we are doing here is to remind everybody of the financial implications of the business decisions, then every single employee is the custodian of their company's profits.
Right.
You know, and you were in corporate, I was in corporate. Seriously, how many real conversations, in-depth conversations did you have with any of your clients or business partners while in corporate about financial statements, about balance sheet, about P&L, many, but how comfortable did you feel? That's a different question.
Yeah.
How comfortable did you feel? Even if I went through a MBA, I really didn't feel. So when I was talking to Neville Joffe, we realized that, and he told me, because he had surveyed so many people, that we are never trained at corporate to be aware of the financial implications of every single decision that we make.
Yeah.
It can be a discount, it can be a new product, anything that we do at corporate, So then we came up with this concept, which is profitability custodians. I ran to GoDaddy. I protected literally, I did that day. When you have one of these amazing ideas.
Yeah.
I went to GoDaddy. I booked the domain profitability custodians, and then we started using it. And it's because it's the reality. We are really not aware, even at the personal level. I mean, how many families have a balance sheet of their own home, of their family? How many have a P&L? Do you know the financial implications of a decision? Well, roughly. The answer is roughly, right?
Yeah. Do you know something that was a game changer for me? You were talking about books earlier on.
Yeah.
Remy Sethi, who wrote a book called Make You Rich or something, and it was a game changer again for me, because it started talking about, on a personal finance point of view, having different accounts for different things. So we had a Christmas account that we were putting money in every month, and that when Christmas came around, when you buy stupid amounts of presents for your kids and things like that, we had a fund for it, and we didn't even spend all the money that was available. So now that's rolled on to birthday funds when we want to buy the kids birthdays, and I've managed to be able to separate. So I now put every month a little bit away for tax, a little bit into this fund. My business account, I always keep a slash fund available, especially on my properties or real estate, if there's a boiler going or whatever, something like that. So that was really a game changer for me, to actually, instead of just having one account and so many things dipping in and dipping out, and you can never control what's coming in and what's going out, you just never have a concept of it. So it sounds to me that you're sort of giving that sort of responsibility to the people you're training as well.
Exactly. So what we do is we actually start from the personal financial statements of every single employee. Okay, we're talking about, I mean, this is designed for both entrepreneurs and for corporate business operators, let's say. So we started from the financial statements, of personal financial statements of everybody who is being trained, because it's from there, it's from that position where everybody acknowledges what we're talking about, that we then go to corporate finances. And again, it's the same thing. Wherever you are in the corporate arena, wherever you are in the corporate world, whatever the place in that matrix of your company is that you are, every single decision that you make has a financial implication.
Yeah.
So basically that means that every time you make a decision, you're actually signing a check. But the CFO doesn't know, but you're actually signing a check.
Yeah.
So every single employee are signing checks. That's why they are the profitability custodians. And exactly, it's a very unique term. But every single employee is the profitability custodian of the company's profits, because that's the nature of the company. And that's a blind spot. That's a big blind spot. We run, as you know, we are very active on LinkedIn. We run a survey on my profile. I run a survey asking, what do you think is the main blind spot of salespeople in the corporate world? And we expected that profitability would be one of the top places. It wasn't the top. It was not the top. So that's why, again, even though every single company exists, in order to produce sustainable to increase sustainably, shareholder value and cash flow, that's the main goal of a corporation, then very little is done at an employee level. Obviously, the CFO knows what he's doing, but how much is being done in order to align?
100%, especially in corporate, because people that I worked with. So I want to talk about innovation, but just on that.
Go ahead.
Well, I'll lead into innovation, but people that I worked with, they had no responsibility for their products that they were working on. They turned up and they did tasks, and that was they then left. And they had, as you say, they had no responsibility of trying to make it more efficient or to raise revenue or go out. And the reason why I was successful in it was because I was interested in business development and actually finding new clients, finding new markets. So I know sales is slightly different to what my experience of corporate America is, but how does innovation sit with the people that you work with in the sales environment? So innovation for you in the sales arena is different to I was in KPMG and PwC in their software, so I helped sell and implement software. But how does innovation sit for the sales market in corporate America, or even in entrepreneurs that you help?
So are you talking about the importance of innovation within
because
my
I think people,
base? Or
well, I think people just aren't aware of the importance of and I mean innovation as in making a difference, making a change, in trying to make something better, whether it's with a client or within an internal system or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, in theory, everybody embraces innovation, right? Because innovation means you are able to create something new. We are all by nature creative. We love to create, but then there's this gap between, okay, I create all those things. You mentioned several products. You create those products, but okay, in order to deliver those, there's going to be something involved. In order to market those, there's going to be something involved. In order to sell them. So this is the gap which is being forgotten. So to be fair, because it's easy to talk about this, but in all fairness, the thing is, how many of us, while in corporate, we got the right education so that we were fully engaged with the rest of the organization, so that eventually the leadership team could keep us accountable. That's the thing. That's the thing. If you want to keep your employees accountable, it's not fair to do it unless everybody is really engaged because they have been provided with the right level of education. And that's where the gap is. That's where the gap is. And again, it's a matter of priorities. It's a matter of priorities. So for instance, I was also selling to many different industries. We were selling what is called product lifecycle management software. Okay.
Right.
So that means that our clients would be like corporations, that they would have some products that they would send to the market, and obviously they wanted to launch those products to the market faster than the competition, blah blah blah. Obviously innovation was always there because our tools were helping them to be really innovative and to launch to market, the time to market, right? Time to market. Right? So innovation was always there. But again, it's not only that you have a great idea and you're able to make sure it's going to fulfill your client's needs. It's not only that, because something that also, again, another gap. When you are selling something, how many times do you really care about the profitability of your client when they buy from you? Because at the very second that you close a deal with them, you become a liability. You become a liability in your client's financial statements.
Yes.
And it's a great revenue for you.
Yeah.
But until the returns, until the client sees the returns, you are a liability. You tell me, as a salesperson, how many times you have the tough love conversation, the tough conversation with your client, in which you say, okay, but I'm only going to sell to you unless we really have a tough conversation about how that is going to help you increase your profitability. Nobody does it. Nobody does it. Because why? Because it's a tough conversation. It's like, when you're dating this girl that you really wanted to date, like you were like dying to date with that girl, and then you immediately, for some reason, something changes and she says yes, and it's your first opportunity. Are you going to go raw the first day? Are you going to tell her everything? Not the first day, not even the first month, not even the first year, because she's the lady of your dreams, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's the same thing. We are coin operated, we are salespeople. So when we have this possibility to sell a multi-million-dollar to someone, we never have these tough conversations. Wrong. This is the wrong thing to do, because we want long-term relationships with our clients. The best way to keep our clients alive and keep on buying from us is if we make sure that we develop that win-win, in which they recover and they make their investment in our products and services profitable.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to have you back on my podcast again. I'm gonna so I what I want to do on our second interview, I'm happy to do it, is talk about sales, is go deep in on sales, because I think it's the core of your business, it's a core of your experiences. I've got certain views on sales, not negative, because I think people's career progressions is based on selling yourself. It's like you're selling to clients, you're selling yourself to your bosses. So we'll have to get you back on in a month or two. Right, we're coming to the end of the interview. I asked my guests 6 same questions. They're quick fire questions. They don't need quick fire answers, depending on how you want to respond to them. First question is, what's the best decision that you made?
Have kids.
What's the best piece of advice you were given?
Be open to what the universe has to tell you.
Okay, awesome. Who helped you most in your career?
My wife.
Any regrets?
A lot, but I wouldn't be who I am unless I had gone through those challenges. So that's okay. I'm a human being, so I am still wired, and I still feel that I did something wrong. But really, I'm happy to be who I am with all my flaws.
That's fantastic. What are you most proud of?
Well, what I have achieved. I've helped so many people. All the lives that I have been able to change.
Awesome. And what does legacy mean to you?
Well, legacy means all those things that the people that have been able to impact, to your previous question, all those memories, all those examples that I was able to give to all these people, the people that I was able to lead throughout my life. And that includes obviously my wife and my kids.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Where can people find you?
Thank you. Yeah, very easy. Go to LinkedIn, Angel Ribo, the CEO Confidant, or send me an email. Ribo is spelled like R-I-B as in boy O. So my email address is angel, as in heaven, angel@angelribo.com. And I have to tell you, or myself or someone in my team will be, kind enough to respond to your message. So don't hesitate to write to me.
That's fantastic. Thank you very much, Angel. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you. The pleasure has been mine. And obviously, thank you very much to the audience who has been listening to us today.